At this time, can you please help me make welcome Consul General Idit Shamir? Let's put our hands together.
Good evening, everybody. It's such an honor to be here and speak to you today. And I want to thank Majed for his vision and inspiring words and quite amazing talent in movie creation. Above all, this movie, I'm really looking forward to see this this movie. I think knowing so much, I would still learn a lot, and to hear you speak is extremely moving. Thank you very, very much. 7th October used to be a very happy day. For me, my twins were born that day. We were on vacation in Ottawa, and not in Ottawa, in Montreal. And I had a bad feeling. I couldn't sleep very well. So I was, it's a very bad habit. I picked up my phone and then I started seeing the messages coming and coming and coming and coming. And at first it was very unclear what is happening. The terrorists are shown here, there's an invasion there, but couldn't comprehend what is going on. And just the day before that, we are here in Canada, my family had a family reunion in Israel. My uncle came from the States with his new grandchild, and they had this very large family reunion. And my family is originally from a kibbutz near the Gaza border. And my uncle and his daughter and his granddaughter were actually thinking, should they go back to the kibbutz to sleep at night? But they decided they're too tired. They went to my mom's house to sleep. And it was 6 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning there, and we're starting to receive, these messages that something is happening. And my cousin Ofer, who lives in Kibbutz Kisufim, we couldn't reach him. And my great aunt Gina, who is a 94 Holocaust survivor from the Czech Republic, we couldn't reach her. And it was, it's kind of like time stopped. Because at first we were very optimistic and there were all sorts of messaging, but as the time passed, it was very clear that something horrible is happening in a way that we never seen, that we have never seen before. And it took the longest 72 hours of my life to hear, and we were kind of moving from hope to despair. We heard the most horrible news that they were both murdered, each one in their own home. And we saw photos of what went on in their homes and the brutality of it. And it took such a long time. In the Jewish tradition, you are expected to bury the dead very, very quickly. We usually try not to wait even 24 hours. That is our tradition. And it took over 3 weeks for them to identify my cousin's body because of the significant damage that happened. They had so many bodies that that single day, it was, I think they said as many years, together were all condensed in one day. They had to take a warehouse to house the bodies, and they were having trucks with air conditioning, kind of pouring in, because how do you deal with something like that? And it was really a day that, we will never forget. And today the unthinkable became a reality. This is quite a difficult week for us, Israelis. On Monday, we marked Holocaust Memorial Day, and on Sunday, we are going to mark the Memorial Day for the fallen soldiers and the victims of terrorism. It's going to be over 25,000 people. And the day after, we're going to mark our Independence Day, because it's always so very connected. People give their lives, the connection is very, very clear. So we move from very deep sadness to usually jubilation. It's not going to be jubilation this year. Because as much as we appreciate the renewed independence after thousands of years of being driven away from our land, we have returned, and we all see it as a miracle. This is not something that makes any sense. It's so rare for people to who have been excluded from their land to be able to return, to revive a language that was dead for 5,000 years, and now it's a thriving language that has culture and books and movies. And when my father was at university, he studied in German because there were not enough words in Hebrew to study engineering. So again, in such a short time, a language that was only used for religious purposes was totally revived. So while we understand this miracle, this is still very, and we appreciate it, still very hard to feel happy, even in this Independence Day. And how can we celebrate when 132 of our brothers and sisters are still held in captivity? The fear is that one of the reasons why they're not letting the young women go is because they have been impregnated through rape, and this is a way of dehumanizing them, dehumanizing Israel as a nation, and kind of creating, children that are part Hamas rapists, part. It's like, how do you deal with something like that? What do you do? It's very hard to comprehend, and we know from the hostages who were returned that horrible things are happening there in captivity, and it's been over 7 months. One of the captives he was taken captive at 7 months. So he's spent now half of his life in captivity, and we're all keeping our fingers crossed that he is still alive. Holocaust Memorial this year was extremely difficult because we usually say never again. And when I said it before, I usually believed it, and I thought never again. This is something of the past. Yes, we should remember, but there's no way something like this will happen again. Definitely not, in a country that is so pluralistic, that believes in multiculturalism, that accepts immigration, that is so sensitive to the feelings of its people, and as much as I was, shocked by October 7th event that I never thought would ever happen. We also, our entire belief in the world and the goodness in the world has shattered What is going on now in campuses truly reminds us of Germany in the 1930s. We have Jewish students that are not let in the university. We have Jewish professors who are not allowed back at university. The police refuses to let people in because they look too Jewish. This is here in Canada. Calling for the annihilation of Jews is tolerated. We see that presidents of Ivy League universities are saying that they will only forbid it if they act on it or if it's in the right context. What context do you need to say that calling for annihilation of a people is wrong? In our world now, Jews under the codename Zionist are pushed from government. We've seen it here in BC. From public life, from hospitals. There is a huge campaign against doctors where they're being, Jewish doctors people complain about them and say that they're unfit to be doctors because they believe in Zionists and therefore they're oppressors and colonialists. From the arts, plays by Jewish playwrights and plays that are dealing with anything regarding Jewish life are being cancelled in the west of Canada now, and nobody can do anything about it. This is an ironic time when peace has become a cry of violence, when the calls to an end of war become the calls for destruction, and the demand for ending killing has become a demand to perpetuate it. Jews in Canada and elsewhere deserved empathy as they mourn the heinous acts of rape, murder, mutilation, and abduction perpetrated by Hamas on October 7th. Instead, the response was the worst bloodshed since the Holocaust. The world unleashed a torrent of anti-Semitism. Many leaders are unwilling to look at the dangerous path where this all leads. Those in position of authority have largely chosen silence. Well, I think it's time to speak up. I want to thank all of you for joining us here tonight, and thank you for not being silent. It's heartening to witness the presence of so many individuals who choose not to stand idly by. You are the exception, rare and highly appreciated in this very dark time. Your support gives us a strength to carry on. Because we live in a world where good is evil and evil is good, where darkness masquerades as light and lightness is dark. Our history is being erased, our present is under threat, and our collective future is in question. When the history books of this era will be written, this period will be remembered as echoing the dark chapters of the past. And people will ask, how did we allow this to happen? And we must be clear that choosing to ignore threats and unrest, radicalism, is giving the opportunity to take root. This is not Israel's war to fight alone. It concerns all humanity. Our common fate will be determined by the outcome of this war. I ask that you, representing such diverse communities, continue to come together to address hate and indifference. I can't stress enough how much it matters when we see friends of Israel who have moral clarity, standing behind us, understanding that we're the only democracy in the Middle East. And yes, we're fighting the West's war, because if we don't win, the West is next. Today we face challenges unprecedented in our generation. The people of Israel remain inspired by our eternal hope. It's hope of 2,000 years that we rely upon to bring together better days. And as my wonderful friend Raheel Raza was mentioning just yesterday, Israel's national anthem, Hatikva, means hope. As a people, we know that despite the endless tragedies, we will endure, we will survive, and even thrive as a people. We are forward-looking people who have never lost hope. In fact, that after 2,000 years of wandering, Israel was able to come into existence is not taken for granted. Not to celebrate this miracle in our lifetime, despite the current situation, is to provide our enemies with an undeserved victory. In these dark times, hope is mandatory. This is my call to everyone here this evening. Please continue to take action, because that is what generates hope. And when you give people hope, you give them light. And by creating enough light, we will find the way forward. Israelis have no other country, and humanity has no other choice. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We cry with you, we mourn with you. Thank you so much for your resilience and your strength. We put our hands together again.